been doing MP for, I would say properly for 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe
And
even,
tell us, so how old were your children when you started doing MP properly?
so Amira would have been 3 or 4. So she's 9 now, and I said 5 years, and she would have been 4. And then Logan, she was in my belly when I was doing MP. And then then I breastfed, and she's just grown up with it. She's known nothing different.
So you've had 2 children. One of them would have been, the experience would have been quite different because you started MP before your second child was born. So do you want to talk about a little bit about bouncing back from childbirth and what the recovery was like?
Yep. So with Logan, she was a frequent feeder as well. Like as soon as she came out, she was like feeding every 2 hours. So that's taxing on your body. Takes its toll on your body. So I was then hungry and ravenous as well. So we had to up my protein and make sure that I was eating more, and I was eating carbs outside the window as well to make sure that I was feeding for 2 basically. Recovery was next to nothing in terms of my body and exercise and all that sort of thing. But you're talking about, do you want me to talk about my chronic fatigue and stuff, or?
That was the next question.
So that's the next question. So recovery really well, thinking that I am awesome. I can just go back to doing what I was doing before. 3 weeks postpartum, I got my photos done, and I was like, right, I'm ready to go back to training. I'm bored at home. I'm going to go and take the baby into training. Tried to go back to training like twice a week, then 3 times a week, and then all of a sudden I was doing 4 times a week. And I was just getting like tinier and tinier. I wasn't actually building muscle. I was losing muscle, even though I was trying to eat more, and I was trying to eat carbs outside the window. I was trying to increase my protein and feed loads. And also Logan was a terrible sleeper. So she was up every half an hour. And sometimes, I was horrendous. Like, and even after 6 months, she got worse. So she didn't get better, she got worse. And Pete and I would have to do shifts. So he would have to be up for a couple of hours, and then it would, go to a certain period of the night, and then it'd be like, hey, it's your turn now, and vice versa. And then even after not breastfeeding, I thought that maybe, more food and stuff would settle her down. But it took a good 2 years for her to actually start sleeping properly. And I'm still woken up, sometimes once or twice a night with her or Amira. So I got really sick. I got chronic fatigue. My body stopped absorbing nutrients, and I became like severely anemic. So, and we couldn't figure out why, because I was eating like red meat at that stage 3 times a day, eating so much more than the average person. So we couldn't figure that out, but it was actually lack of sleep. So lack of sleep, there's no recovery from exercise, and then I'm going and exercising with no sleep, and it was just like a double-edged sword. So I ended up getting so sick that I had cold sores breaking out, and I ended up lying in bed for days. Yeah, it was horrible.
And you raise a really good point. People severely underestimate the power of sleep, and it's not always within our control to get that sleep, is it? You've got a new baby. It's not like you can just tell her that you need the rest. So there are times in our lives where we can't control certain situations. But I think what you've said here is really powerful, is that over time, and what you did last year was really inspirational. You backed off the training. So there was a time where you were just doing fire twice a week, and I think that's all you managed, wasn't it?
For a long time, it was twice a week. And then even if I did something that would go overboard, I'd have to back it off and have a week's rest. Yeah.
And I remember last year, your accountability charts for that exact reason were going up and down, because sometimes you felt like you could manage, and sometimes you felt like you were having a week where you really struggled. So that's what I think is so powerful about this program, and about listening to your body and knowing when your limits are. It's really important to do that, because if you don't sleep well, you're not going to get any benefit from that workout, and you might actually make your own situation worse.
Yes. And it's the whole situation that is affected. And that's why I had to learn the hard way, and I had to get accountability, because it affects your entire family. Like, it's not just me overrunning myself and then, oh, okay, I can have a week in bed. I can't have a week in bed because I have kids.
You got stuff to do.
I've got stuff to do.
Yeah, so, that's right.
You know, and I got to a point where I was just popping Nurofen and Panadol and trying to just, you know, keep going.
Carry on.
100%. Yeah, and I think that's important for mums to know as well, you know, because if you fall down, then the whole family falls down. If we're trying to do too much, then, yeah, it all falls apart.
And I think what you said there is really important too, that having the accountability, it means someone else has got an outside view of your life. So you might not even know that you're not listening to your body. You might not know that you're going against what your body is telling you until you've got someone who's got no emotion about your situation say, you know what, let's reduce the exercise, or let's do what we can, let's work with what we can work with. And you did last year. You got an outstanding result, and you trained probably half the amount that was prescribed, because that's what was
prescribed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. I think mums are so used to just looking after everybody and working as hard as they can for everybody else, that when it comes to their own goals, they go to work as hard as they can and realize that it actually causes them to burn out, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And also the accountability in the way that you ask the hard questions, you know, like the 6 habits questionnaire, and all those types of tasks that you have to do, and you have to answer, and you have to dig deep and find out exactly what you're doing that's holding you back.
Yep.
And I remember it was the overtraining. As soon as I thought I was fine, I would then go, I can do everything. And then I'd go back to square one again.
Well, that's right. And you probably don't know you're burning out until you start snapping at your family. And then you realize that your emotions are actually the end result of something else, whether you're sleep deprived, you're not recovering from your sessions, whatever it is.
Yeah.
If mum's not on the ball, or mum's not getting the energy and the rest and recovery that she needs, you're right, the rest of the family starts to cop it, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah, and start to suffer. And with the chronic fatigue, I would start to get like fever and body aches, and like my whole body would just shut down. Like that's how it worked for me. Like I'd feel fine one day, and then the next day it would just shut down. Like I would have fever, body aches, dull headaches. It was just hideous. And then the kids suffer because I don't have the energy to play with them, and you know, I'm just plodding along in life, and that's shit. Like, you know, that's not what we're trying to do. Like, that's not why I got into it in the first place.
Exactly. So tell us then, Megan, out of the training you did do last year, on average, how much exercise did you do in terms of fire ice and LIA on average throughout the year?
On average throughout the year, it would have been 2 to 3 sessions a week.
Total?
Total. And I suppose LIA I would count as running around after the children, going to the park. That's the sort of LIA that I would consider now, is that when I'm out there and I'm playing with the kids, that's where, and so, you know, I would do that, but I wouldn't push myself too hard in terms of making sure that LIA was really, really like out of my scope and intense, because I tried that and it just didn't work. So, I play with the girls to the park and do the activities with them. But then fire and stuff was, we went up to 3, and then, you know, I got consistent with that, and it was a gradual process. Yeah.
So tell us, what's your chronic fatigue like this year? Has it improved? Is it still there? How do you feel these days?
So my chronic fatigue hasn't hit for a while, because I just listen to my body, and if I have to have time off training, I just have time off training, and it's not a big deal to me now.
Good girl.
Yeah.
And that's a really important skill, and it takes time to develop, doesn't it? And I know for a lot of women, or I suppose this is anybody, when they start their journey, they panic when they have a day off exercise, or when they've missed a meal and all that sort of thing. It's a big deal. But when you've been doing this for 5 years, you start to become less emotional about those decisions, and you slowly start to make the right decision based on the fact that, you know what, I've done 5 years worth of training. Is it really going to make that much of a difference if I take one day off? Probably not. So if I don't feel like I'm going to recover from it, I won't do it. because then my next session is going to be better and more intense anyway than if I start backing them all up. Because if you do them all in a row, the last one is absolute crap, isn't it? Might as well be classed as LIA.
And then you fall down.
Exactly. Yep. And you don't know you've done too much until you burn out. So that is one of the things, guys, as you go through the program and you do start to get better and more experienced, is you do start to peel the layers back, and you can start to notice your own habits and identify them without emotion. So making decisions without emotion, that's a skill in itself, and it does take time to develop. And if it's not a habit yet, yes, you do need the accountability, because then you've got that someone else who's looking at your situation without emotion going, you know what, I really think you should be doing less, or you really should be doing X, Y, and Z, even though you don't want to. So Megan, you're a really good example last year of someone who did, half the amount of training that probably was prescribed, but for the right reasons. And the results show that if you can do that little exercise and get that result, why would you do more anyway, even if you were feeling healthier? So that's what's so cool about this program, is we always start with less and we build it up, because first of all, you might get the result you want from doing less. But second of all, like Megan said before, it's about figuring out what you can do consistently before you move on to the next part. Because how tempting is it to do more when you feel when you feel good? You think, oh, I could actually squeeze another one in. I actually feel great.
Yeah. I think I should. That's what I think I should be doing, not what I need to be doing.
100%.
Yeah.
So all these little things, like you've got your food prep down to 3 hours a week. So you do it once a week for 3 hours. For a lot of mums, I know they're almost at the supermarket every day because there's so much, their family goes through so much food that they're making constant trips.
And there's no plan. There's no plan and structure. So I remember being that person, going to the shops every day going, what am I going to have for dinner?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And that's why the Cook Bible's there. So, you guys over the last few years, you've tried different recipes, figured out which ones suit your family. Everyone in the family likes chili con carne. Everyone in the family likes the chicken rissoles. So we'll make 4 times the amount of chili con carne, and I'll make 25 rissoles so that it lasts us for 7 days.
Yeah. And I will point out that they did have, Amira would, kids will sort of go, oh, I'm sick of this, or, we always have this. But if you change it up a little bit, and then they just get used to it, they actually then get used to and thrive on the structure.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. We've got quite a few mums on the line too. So if anyone wants to